Hello all, this is Victorian Genetics here, bringing you an Overwatch video, sort of an Overwatch video, sort of Heroes of the Storm video, on top 5 heroes I would like to see in Overwatch, not in Overwatch, top 5 heroes from Overwatch that I would like to see in Heroes of the Storm. We are currently 6 days away from Overwatch, and this is a part of the countdown to Overwatch. Yes, quick disclaimer. I would ultimately like to see all of the heroes from Overwatch into Heroes of the Storm. I was really happy when I saw that icon on there, that Overwatch was getting counted as its own game in Heroes of the Storm. So I'm like, please just give them all to me because I want them all. But this list ultimately is, there were a few different factors that played into it. Mostly two main factors, I should say. Are they a favorite of mine in Overwatch? And how different do I feel their kit would be compared to other heroes in Heroes of the Storm? Do I feel like they'd feel like their own individual self? How well would they translate? And do they feel like they'd be unique and different from other heroes in Heroes of the Storm? Which I think ultimately all of them would feel, uniquely different enough. But some of them feel like they'd match up a little too much with other heroes. Reaper and Widowmaker, for instance, feel like they'd match up with another hero in the game, like a whole lot. Like Widowmaker to Nova and Reaper to Vala. They just feel like they'd be really similar to me. So they're not really mentioned in here. I mention them again later, like, why I didn't consider them really. And then Mei feels like she'd feel a lot like Jaina, which I did mention a little bit later, but she'd probably be a little bit more utility focused as compared to Jaina, who's assassin focused. But anyway, without further ado, let's get to the list. The first hero in here, Overwatch that I want to see in Heroes of the Storm is Pharah. And while I think she'd somewhat seem a little similar to maybe like a Lunara type deal, as far as, she's obviously would be an assassin. She'd be somewhat pretty heavily mobility based. And yeah, she'd be dealing with air type stuff, but like she could have auto attacks that are AoE. Obviously, since she uses a rocket launcher, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, Tracer is all about mobility and shooting while keeping mobile. Why wouldn't you maybe do that for Pharah? She has Jump Jet, which obviously would just be mobility, and Concussive Blast. They can make it in the game where it knocks her back too. Because I played quite an excessive amount of her, and it looked like she was able to knock herself back with that as well, just like she can with her rocket launcher. So, pretty sure that's a thing. And then obviously Barrage would be pretty cool. I don't know what the augments for Barrage would be, and I don't know exactly how they'd play out her hero talents. But I'd want her to be like, they need to focus on the mobility. She's a super heavily mobile, in my opinion. I played an excessive amount of Pharah, and she's pretty damn mobile. She's all about that air combat and everything, so I think it would take a fair bit of effort to translate her into Heroes of the Storm and her feel like she does in the game, because Tracer feels like how she does in Overwatch. She's blinking in and out, and she's being super mobile and super pesky and everything and really hard to kill, and she feels exactly that. So, Pharah, I think they could do it. Blizzard's awesome at doing stuff like this, so yeah, it would be really cool to see. I love the idea of Pharah in it, obviously because she's my favorite character in Overwatch, but because AoE auto attacks would be really cool. Of course, her auto attack speed would probably be pretty slow. Make it a slow auto attack speed with area of effect to the auto attacks. Sort of like a Jinx type deal. I don't know if people play League of Legends, but Jinx, her auto attacks, she can switch to rocket form and they basically AoE blast. Something like that. And then, yeah. Number 2 on my list of heroes I would like to see from Overwatch into Heroes of the Storm is Deepa. Now, with Deepa, I just feel like she occupies a really strategic type of niche that hasn't really been fully captured in Heroes of the Storm. And she also kind of fits this really. She's in this really weird area where it takes some artistic impression as far as what she'd do once she's out of her mech. As far as Heroes of the Storm, because I don't feel like they'd want to make her not have skills or, you know, play exactly like she does in Overwatch. Her mech form obviously can play exactly like she does in Overwatch, but once she's out of the mech, I feel like they'd want to have some skills and, you know, stuff pertaining to that. Like, she'd be kind of tricky to get into the game, but, like, between the whole, you know, she has the two different forms. She has the tank cannon form and everything, and then she has the light gun out of mech form. And you know how she can do the whole thing where she gets her mech and she does the boosters and then ejects herself out and blows it up and for her ultimate and everything. Or I don't think that's her ultimate, is it? I don't know what her ult is, because this page is really confusing. I have not played Deepa, I've just fought a lot of Deepas, and I've watched professional play, and I've seen her a few times. I don't know what exactly is ult and what exactly isn't, because people never really directly say it. I know Defense Matrix is a skill. Self-destruct and can call mech. I don't know. You guys can tell me in the comments. I know how she plays, though. And I feel like she'd be really, really cool in Heroes of the Storm. Defense Matrix, obviously, being a defensive type deal. And I feel like they could translate her really well from her Overwatch self to Heroes of the Storm, just like they've done with Tracer. But the main thing is they'd have to kind of mix it up in order to have her feel really good whenever she's not in her mech. Like, she doesn't have to feel powerful, of course. She just has to feel good, which I think she'd take some artistic impression and, like, you know, a lot more. I don't know. I don't want to say development, but like a lot more trying to get her to work well and feel like her Overwatch self, because, as I said, she doesn't have skills while she's outside of her mech. Again, if I'm wrong, you can tell me. I did not play any Deepa yet. That's going to happen eventually because I'm going to play shit tons of Overwatch. So I'm not entirely sure on how she works. I know how she works, but I don't know where the skills are on her button placement and everything. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little confusing. Anyway, that's number 2. Number 3 on my list would be Lucio, because I feel like Lucio would feel really different from the other supports in the game of Heroes of the Storm. Maybe a little bit almost like a Brightwing type deal, because, you know, he's AoE heal and he's meant for mobility's sake, so he gets around the map really fast. But, you know, crossfade is kind of where it makes it different. His speed is applied to his allies. So he'd have crossfade, obviously, and then I don't know if if crossfade would work as a skill. I feel almost like it would need to be a passive, a D key thing, because that's just something that's always going on around him. So it's more of it feels more like it's a passive type deal. So maybe put that as his passive, his D key passive, and then switch up how the other ways that he plays out. Give him another skill. Maybe you'd give him his normal fire. His auto attacks would be his normal fire. One of his skills would be the knockback blast that he has access to. And then, of course, another skill would be amp it up. And then I don't quite know what that third skill would be. This is where you can kind of argue, like, oh, we'll just put crossfade as the third skill. But then, I don't know, I just feel like crossfade should be a passive, like, you know, a passive skill thing. But I don't know, you can tell me in the comments what you personally think should be the third skill. Like, should it just be crossfade and the passive something different? Or should crossfade be the passive and maybe incorporate a skill somewhere into him. And then also Sound Barrier would be his ultimate, obviously. I'm not sure how they would go about amplifying it for the level 10. Maybe like a damage buff to allies that are affected by Sound Barrier, and then, you know, maybe it heals. Maybe it can heal along with providing the shield as another one of the augments, and then like maybe one of the augments is like it slows enemies or something. That would be pretty cool. It slows enemies that are in the zone. That would be pretty slick. I think Lucio would make a really good hero. Like, really cool. Really good hero. Number 4 on my list is Hanzo. Now, Hanzo, to me, feels like he'd fulfill a really cool, like, utility assassin type deal in the game. You know, he has his sonic arrow, which detects stuff. You know, he'd give a lot of vision in the game. And then his scatter arrow is more of just AoE damage, and his dragon strike would obviously be his ultimate. I feel like it could be I don't know how quickly Tracer charges up her ultimate in Heroes of the Storm, but it could be very long distance at the very least, very long distance, maybe not cross map, but very long distance, and provide vision as well. And then maybe the augments could be like, again, like a slow, you know, something encapsulating more damage on it. And then, I'm not entirely sure what all the augments could be, but I feel like Hanzo would be like really slick and really cool, and not entirely seen in the game before. Like, we have a few assassin sniper type deals in Heroes of the Storm. We have some utility and some vision type deals, like Lunara gives vision with her wisps, but I feel like having Hanzo with the sonic arrow would be pretty cool. And then scatter arrow, obviously, it's a lot like it's a little bit like Vala's her AoE blast thing, but they could probably make it unique and different in its own way. But I feel like he could be really cool and really different. Probably on this list, he's probably the one that feels the most like he'd be just very similar to a bunch of other heroes, maybe, because, you know, he's a little more straightforward than a lot of Overwatch heroes feel to me. But I feel like he would he'd work out really well. I kind of feel like it'd be cool for them to make a sniper type deal in Heroes of the Storm, where your auto attacks aren't auto aim, right? Like, and that could be Hanzo, like high skill cap type of deal. Like, he has to guide his arrows and like actually shoot. Like, maybe that could just be a skill of some sort or something. Or like his passive is that he doesn't auto attack and you have to push the D key to actually fire. It'd be something really different, but it'd sort of encapsulate the high skill feel that Hanzo himself has in Overwatch. So I think Hanzo would be really cool to see them do in the game. Number 5 on the list is tricky. I'm torn between either Mei or Zenyatta, and when I look at the two, Mei to me would feel a lot like Jaina, so I lean a little bit more towards Zenyatta. With Zenyatta, he has the individual shooting of the orbs, and then he has a rapid fire. So he'd be able to have 3 skills really easily. And then between his Orb of Harmony and Orb of Discord, it feels like he'd play a really interesting role in Heroes of the Storm. I don't know how line of sight would work exactly, because, you know, technically you always have vision on your ally. So they'd maybe want to make it of effect, kind of like a Oriana ball type deal. As long as he's within range of his orb, it is going to be doing this. But yeah, Orb of Discord is something that I feel like isn't excessively there in Heroes of the Storm, like a debuff that just makes them take more damage. And then Transcendence is a very Kale ultimate type deal, Kale or Tarek, where you become immune to damage and everything, and you restore the health of your nearby allies. So that would be really clutch in team fights, as it already is in Overwatch. But I feel like he'd occupy his own unique space. As far as like what type of support you're looking for, I feel like there'd be reasons to take Zenyatta over other heroes in Heroes of the Storm. Yeah. Plus Zenyatta's just cool. So that's, I don't know, I mean, I feel like he'd occupy a really good strategic niche of his own. Between the two orbs, which feel really highly masterful, and then he has, obviously, his auto attacks would be ranged. And he'd have an alternate fire. His alternate fire is another skill, which is like, you know, rapid fire or something. I'm not entirely sure how they would do it, but I feel like he could work really, really well in Heroes of the Storm. I feel like all heroes could work really well, but these are just the 5 main ones that I look at them and I'm like, I want you as a hero in Heroes of the Storm right now. Honorable mentions, obviously I sort of already mentioned one with number 5, is May, and then McCree, and Symmetra. Those were, and Mercy. Those were like the 4 that, and Junkrat. Okay, 5. There were 5. I was looking at a list of characters here. There were 5 characters that I was like, these ones would feel really quite different. They would feel almost pretty different, and they would be really cool to see in Heroes of the Storm. I'm not going to go into detail about them because they're just honorable mentions for me, but they'd feel different, and they'd feel really good. As a whole, I'd like to see all of the heroes, but some of them obviously feel like they'd play a lot like heroes that are already in Heroes of the Storm. Reaper would feel a whole lot like Vala. I mean, right down to the ultimate. His ultimate copies Vala's one of Vala's ultimates, like almost verbatim. And then he'd be sort of mobility based, and he'd play somewhat different from Vala, but you know, he'd feel somewhat similar. And then Widowmaker, I don't know exactly what the heck they could do with Widowmaker. Her ultimate, if you do that exact ultimate in Heroes of the Storm, I don't know how impactful it would feel. It'd probably feel like a really good ultimate in competitive play, but in solo queue you'd be like, this ultimate kind of sucks because it's solo queue. But you know, providing vision on everybody would be pretty cool. But then outside of that, the rest of her kit kind of feels like she'd be Nova-esque. You know, Nova's even getting a Widowmaker skin, so Junkrat would feel really different. But as a whole, he's kind of one of my least favorite characters in Overwatch, so he's not in my personal top 5. I want him in this game. Although I do want him in the game ultimately. I want all of the Overwatch heroes in the game ultimately. Symmetra would feel pretty damn unique with her sentry turrets and then her ultimate being the portal. But again, her portal is kind of like in a MOBA, how impactful and how good do you think that would feel to you? Mercy is just, she feels unique as far as a healer goes. Like, I played Mercy quite a bit in the open beta. It's about a half hour to 40 minutes, so I guess not quite a bit, and she felt different from any other healers that I typically see. She'd be really cool in Heroes of the Storm with her concentrated, you know, heal, like always healing somebody, and then, yeah, so she'd be pretty cool. And then McCree is just, McCree would feel kind of like a standard assassin in a way, but his auto aim thing and stuff like that would feel really I don't know, I'd enjoy seeing him in Heroes of the Storm. I guess that's the wrong phrase to be using. I'd enjoy them. I'd enjoy seeing all Overwatch heroes in Heroes of the Storm. These are just kind of like top 5, then, you know, 5 that were being considered for the top 5, and then everybody else. So I'd be like, yes, put them in the game. That's it for this video. I thank you all for watching. If you like what you see, like it, obviously, because you liked it. Why wouldn't you like it if you like it? Because you liked it, right? So like it. Or don't like it. That's your prerogative. Be sure to comment on anything at all. I'll respond to it all. I'm open to criticisms. I'm open to, you know, all of it, and I will always respond when I can. And then subscribe for more content like this. There's always more content coming out like this.